right. Welcome, everyone. I know you all are logging in and getting your audio set up. Give you a few minutes. Welcome to the Bold Moves Experience, Part 2, the Bold Moves Spotlight. I'll let you all continue to log in. Give you a few more seconds. All right. Well, good day, everyone. My name is Natasha, and I am the Senior Career Ambassador representing University of Phoenix and our Northern Virginia DC Metro Service Center. And welcome to the Bold Moves Experience, Embracing the Essence of You, Part 2, the Bold Moves Spotlight. Now, I would like to take time to introduce our esteemed moderator for today. Dr. Christi Monk is passionate about training women on how to amplify their influence, communicate confidently, and lead out loud without compromising who they are. She is the founder of Women with Beauty and Boundaries, the Workplace Leadership Institute, and the Confidence. Dr. Monk trains women and men on how to use their core value system so they are more influential, effective, confident, and productive contributors in the workplace and their communities. By focusing on the core value system and regaining confidence, women are equipped to make the bold moves necessary to improve their career choices, communication style, interpersonal skills, and social skills, all of which result in personal satisfaction. Dr. Christi's mission in life is to teach women how to be the voice and not the echo. For the delay, Dr. Monk, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Natasha, and welcome back, everyone, hopefully. And if we have some new people, welcome. I am Dr. Christi Monk, your host for the Bold Moves Spotlight, and I'm super excited to have each and every one of you here, but I'm more excited about my esteemed panelists. I have 4 phenomenal women who are going to go deeper into their stories. And so if you missed us last month, you missed a treat. But now we're going to actually put some icing on the cake. So what we're going to do today is really just start talking about, their journeys to making bold moves. So what we're wanting to do today is to become bold. And in order to become bold, you become the best you operate fully in your gifts, you live your best life, and you dare to be different. And now our discussion, we're really so here's what y'all will learn about me. I like acronyms. So we will use the STAY model as we dive deeper into the journey. So that means how you stand in your power unapologetically, take control of your thoughts and actions, assess whose help you need so you can yield to the authenticity of you. So the Bold Move Spotlight. So I am super excited about our first spotlight, Dr. Mary Lou Ryder. Mary Lou, I'm going to allow you to give just a brief introduction of who you are, and then we are going to delve in to your spotlight.
Okay. Right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
Thank you all for being here today. I really enjoy working with this fine group of women that have come together for a Bold Moves experience. I'm a retired school superintendent. In fact, I was one of the first women superintendents in a rather large district in California. And then I retired from that and became a professor for Bremen University in their doctoral program. And I've spent 20 years of my life researching and studying women, the gender divide, and different things that women can do to become part of the solution rather than part of the problem, and also gain equity in the world of work. So I've written a couple of books. I started out with a book on for educational leaders. You can see my book up there, but I always sleep with this book. This is I have them all over the house. Don't forget your lipstick girl, Sister to Sister Secrets for Gaining Confidence and Power. It has 52 power tips in it. Also coming out with another version in a couple of weeks called Know Your Worth. It's just a real fun book. It's an easy book to get through. So I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for having me, Christi.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So as you can see, as we go through, I'm going to leave it up as I talk to each panelist so that you can reach out to them and you can support their projects as well. So Mary Lou, can you share some advice from your research and experience on ways women can gain more confidence in their personal and professional lives?
Well, that's a really good question, because that's where really the core of my research has really taken a deep dive. We many of us lack confidence. Just the way we were raised, we were born to be collaborative, we were born to be service, helpers, raise children. So as a result of that, I think along the way we did lose a little of our confidence. You know, I'm at the end of my career now and I still struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things that I have learned over time, I'm going to just share an experience that I did. You know, I'm not really a person that gets into this thing where you do, you know, like meditation and things like that. But I did go to a workshop one time where someone said to make a list of all your accomplishments. And I thought, you know, I'm going to try that, as silly as it sounds. So when I got home, I made this list of all the accomplishments that I had achieved throughout my lifetime. And this was about probably 15 years ago. And one of them was as simple as like buying a motorcycle and learning to ride it. I mean, I considered that a bold move in itself. Another one was, you know, just learning how, taking a course and completing it. So I made this list of all my accomplishments and all these things that I had done in my life that I thought were kind of gutsy and kind of out there. And I had a huge list. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the list and I said, you know, look at all you've done, Mary Lou. You can just about do anything. And, you know, and I keep that list in my mind every time I get up and I have to do a speech. I have to do something that's really bold and courageous. So again, I shared that in my book, we have a lot of research-based tips, but I'm just going to share a couple of them. One of them is the title of one of the tips is called Just a Girl. But we really, a lot of times we'll find ourselves saying, oh, I'm just a secretary, or I'm just a teacher. I mean, I can't believe how many times I work with students and they say, oh, I'm just a teacher. So I advise women to try to delete the negative self-talk and really know your worth. You're worthy. You know, make that list. You'll see all those things that you've done that are really, really very powerful. Don't be afraid to take a chance. I know that sounds easy, but as you know, life does begin at the end of your comfort zone. All these women here today, they're taking a chance. They're here, they've prepared, they're hanging out here for you. And then a third one that I really kind of think is important is this perfectionism bit. I don't know where we got it. I think it's rooted in this self-confidence. We just think if we work 15-hour days, we're just going to nail it. We, you know, write the 90-page paper, we're going to nail it. So I tell people, you know, women that I work with, you know, okay, do your best, but, you know, pretty good is a better word sometimes rather than perfect. Mm-hmm. So kind of get that vernacular of, I can be pretty good. So those are just three. There's like hundreds of things you can do, but if you look inside yourself and do a little bit of reflection and you feel a loss of confidence, make that list like I did. And it can be something as simple as, you know, like I just made a banana bread from scratch. You know, that's, I can't do that, but that's pretty cool. So confidence and how to gain more confidence in your life is really critical.
Well, thank you. I like the part where you said just because I think many people say that, well, I'm just this or I'm just that. But whatever you are qualified in that moment, right? So it's not just that, it's I am a, you know, so thank you for that, Mary Lou. So as the first woman school superintendent for a school district in Fresno, California, can you share one of your greatest challenges and how you faced it?
Yes, I can. And I hope some of you out there can be in the same position as I was. Yeah, I just didn't think I was worthy to be the school superintendent. I came in, I was so excited to get the job. There aren't very many female superintendents, by the way. There's only about 22% in the country. Smaller districts, it gets up to 28. So it's a male-dominated profession. And I came in at a very low salary rate. It was almost criminal, but I wanted the job so bad I took it. So then I was in the job for about a year and I said, you know, I'm going to go ask this board for a salary increase. And I went and asked the board and they just laughed at me. Mm-hmm. And I went out, you know, with my tail between my legs and, you know, that confidence thing. I had to go make that list again, probably. I can recall doing that. So then I went and sought out some female mentors. I said, look, I made a list here. There's 10 superintendents in this county. All 10 of them make more than me. And I don't know if you know this or not, but the bigger your district, the higher your salary. So I had the third largest district in Fresno County, and I had the lowest pay. And out of those top 10 districts, I was the only woman on the list. So I made a chart and I made a list for my board, and I brought that in, and I was just so scared to ask for a salary increase. I went and I asked for some mentors, and they told me to only ask for a $20,000 increase. My husband said, if you ask for a $20,000 increase, I'm going to be embarrassed of you. You need to go in and ask for a $40,000 increase. And I thought that was just crazy. I mean, I thought I was going to be embarrassed inside the room. But long story short, I got the courage and I went in there with my ammunition, my charts and my graphs showing the data, all the accomplishments that I had made. And they did award me a $40,000 increase. They were so unnerved about me being the only female on the list and the lowest paid superintendent. I think that's the only reason I did get that salary increase. But my point here is, if you are going to ask for a raise, number one, don't be afraid to ask for a raise. Don't be afraid to even approach to get a salary increase. Number two, seek out support from other women or mentors who can help you with the process. It's a lonely process. And number three, if you don't ask for a raise, you're certainly not going to get one. So as a woman, it was very difficult for me to go in there and know that I was worthy of a higher salary.
Thank you for that. And that is so true. I mean, one of the things that I think women miss is understanding their value proposition. And in knowing that, I mean, you have to know exactly what value you add to an organization, what things have you actually accomplished. Because I think what also goes with that, Mary Lou, is that we don't know that. You know, most people, when they do resumes, their resumes look like what? The job description. It doesn't speak to the accomplishment, the tangible things that people are looking for. And that's another thing that will help you in negotiating your salary, because you can actually put pen to paper and show them, because people can't refute the facts, right? So thank you for sharing that. And I have one last question for you, Mary Lou, or Dr. Ryder. Throughout your career and your studies on women in leadership, what do you believe is the greatest challenge for gaining equality in the workplace?
Okay, so here's one that's really close to my heart. It definitely is us. We are our greatest challenge. Not only that we lack confidence, but look at the screen here. We have all these women here who are presenting. We need to build a power web, put ourselves out there, become our best advocates, not compete with one another. I put a little thing on Facebook the other day about who wore it better. You know, quit telling us to compete. Who wore it better? Who cares? We're all going to get to the finish line. It should all be about supporting one another, not competing against one another. I think that's the greatest challenge. And you're also, I don't know if any of you in the audience have ever run into this, but there's a term in the literature called a female barracuda. There are some women, unfortunately, and I've worked for a couple of them, who do get to these positions of power in organizations, and they tend to really be harder on the women that are in the organization. And there really isn't anything that you can do about it, because it's just who they are. The only way that you can route around that is to have that power web, you know, connect up with positive people who support other women, and at all costs, you know, reach out to another woman, mentor another woman, and I think that is our biggest challenge and our greatest hurdle, is that not all of us, but we tend to be jealous of other women who make accomplishments, who get to the top, and we should be celebrating them, because it's just one small step for all of us. So if you can, reach out to another woman, mentor her, and continue to build that power web within your own networks.
Well, thank you, Mary Lou, for that. And do we have any questions for Dr. Ryder based on what she just shared? Because we want to give everyone a chance to at least ask a question and you can put it in the chat, and Natasha will help facilitate that. Or we will be monitoring the chat throughout, and we should have time for questions and answers.
Are you taking the question now, Dr. Monk?
Yes.
So we do have one in the chat, and it's from Erica Stroman. What are best practices around finding a mentor? And that question is for Dr. Ryder.
That's an easy one. I tell people just ask. Don't be afraid to ask. You know, I was a busy school superintendent. I didn't sometimes have days where I couldn't even breathe, but I would tell my female teachers, and on the side, of course, I wouldn't do it in front of a whole panel of men out there, but I tell them, come in, knock on my door. I will work with you. So you are not going to find too many women who will say, no, I'm not going to mentor you. They'll be glad to mentor you. So ask, join groups where there are women, and just be connected to as many kind of female groups as possible.
Yeah, thank you. And mentors can come through books,
yep,
or videos. So even however, I mean, there are many ways to be mentored. It's just all about finding the right people to connect with, and then understand what you need from them. So that's also another thing to add to seeking a mentor. So thank you, Dr. Ryder. And her website is sister-to-sister-secrets.com. So next we have, if my thing is acting up, Marta. So Marta, is she there? I can't see her. So
yes, I'm here.
Hi, Marta. How are you?
How are you? How's everyone?
We're good. So Marta, before we dive in, can you share a little bit about who you are and what you do? And what was your bold move?
Sure. Just for context, I actually was born in Central America and immigrated to the United States when I was a kid, elementary school, and grew up in the Midwest here in the States. And then since then have moved around and ended up here on the East Coast in DC. And my trajectory was such that I ended up studying law, went in and worked at a big firm for a while, and then went in and had my own small business. I was in intellectual property, so I ended up going sort of to the other marketing, advertising side of things for a bit, and then moved on to the Federal Reserve and on to a federal agency where I am right now. And so my bold move was starting to, in my midlife, really start to wonder why I wasn't satisfied with wherever I went. You know, great jobs, great opportunities, grateful for them. And I started really looking at myself and working with Dr. Christi, and really seeing how much my environment and culture have influenced my decision.
Salary and class are possible. Don't be afraid. For what you say.
I think someone may need to mute, maybe. So yeah, and so that the bold move was really starting to examine my core values and seeing what I can do next in that stage of my life to sort of fulfill my dreams and also be a productive person.
Well, thank you, Marta. And I think one of the key things I think to mention is that you love what you do, but you are finding purpose outside of work, and in hopes of, you know, eventually making that full transition at some point in time in your life. So one of the things you mentioned about your intellectual property, not property, but intellectual property work. So one of the things I asked Marta was to do some work for me. And Marta, what did you tell me?
I actually, as much as I love Dr. Christi, I said, you know what? No, because in working with you, I have realized what I've been doing all my life is saying yes because it's something I'm qualified to do and grateful to do, and you want to help, you know what I mean? But then in looking at the core values, it's like a compass. That's how I'm thinking of it, Dr. Christi. It's a compass, and with that compass, I was able to say, no, this doesn't, moving in this direction, and not just working with you, but we had talked about other stuff, right? And it would be moving me in the wrong direction. And for me, that's a huge move and understanding and bold move in of itself. So thanks.
Well, thank you. So she set boundaries with me. And I think one of the things that women often struggle with is the ability to properly set boundaries. So she knew what I asked her I knew she was good at it, but she was like, that don't align with where I'm going in life. So even just taking from that, we have to learn to say no and really turn it inward to see if it's aligning with where we want to go in life. So with that, Marta, why is it important to develop your own core values?
Mm-hmm. I think that it's so easy, I think, particularly for women, because, it is true that we do get almost programmed to be in certain roles, and you derive, I think, it's not only a sense of obligation, but a sense of community and belonging, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But sometimes when those are other people's values, you have this sense of dissatisfaction, and you're maybe not contributing your best. You're not only not feeling fulfilled, but you're not contributing everything you can give isn't being put out there, because you're not really taking time to examine where would I be happiest and provide most value to what I want to do and give to this world and other people and all that. So having your own core values is really like that compass. It's going to help you guide you to be your best. I feel really now at this stage in my life that it's really helping me get to that next phase and where I want to be, not just spiritually and but where I really do believe I'll contribute the most. And I do believe, just to harken back to our last session, Molly, you had said something that I really resonated with, that maybe everywhere you've been and where you are now is exactly where you're supposed to be and where you should have been. And now I feel like having a compass is going to help me take everything, all that experience, and really head to where I also would like to be,
Well, thank you. Thank you. One of the things you shared with me is what was expected of you culturally, and how has that shifted for you after being brave enough to make your own bold move?
Yeah, a big sense of, a big part of my fear was, culturally, it is a very, that responsibility, just to give you that context of being an immigrant, and, all of trying to be grateful and take forward the reason everybody sacrificed to get the family here and to do the best for this new country where you are, it's a lot. And then also just the role of what a woman is expected to be. I think not just in my culture, but in a lot of different friends of mine, and we're from different cultures, and a lot of us experience the same thing. And actually setting your own path can be really difficult in certain cultures. But for me, the fear of rejection of that family, of that culture, is what kept me, I think, within a box. But was also kind of a painful thing. And I realized rejection in the end, where I am now, I realize it's a lot easier to take than regret, than really not exploring what you could be, or taking the tools you have, and then where can you apply it next. And so through this journey, there has been a little rejection, but I think in the end, when you try to examine where those motivations are coming from, why is, for example, your family wanting you to do X, Y, Z? A lot of times it's out of love, it's out of fear. They just want to make sure that you're going to be okay. Or it's just the way we've always done it. But when you do start trying something new and showing people that can be okay too, it can actually be a place for everybody to grow together. So I've had some good experiences, and in the end, I think it's worth it, So yeah.
Okay. Well, one last question for you is, what advice can you give to others who may be questioning whether or not to make a bold move, and should what other people think matter?
I'd say just do it. Do it to the extent that you can. We all have different circumstances. I think just look at your situation and kind of weigh your options, and to what you can do today, right now, do it. And does it matter what people think? I would say yes and no. I think no it shouldn't stop you. How about that? Like, take what might be seated in that, the love for you, the fear, the wanting you to be okay, or wanting everybody to just be okay. That's fine, and take that, but don't let it stop you, the way I think a lot of times I know I have. Just keep going,
Well, thank you for that, because I think it's equally as important to be mindful of who you share things with, because just like what you said, other people's concern for you and care and love for you may be rooted in their own fear. And so you do have to kind of pick and choose or weigh the information that's being shared with you, knowing the people who are actually giving you the advice. Yeah. So thank you, Marta, for sharing that. And so we have Marta, who's at www.thegreenpine.com, and she is all things about pine and health and healing. So check her out. But before we move on to our next spotlight, do we have any questions for Marta? In the chat, let me check. No questions? We got a couple.
There are some comments, but
Sure. So from Molly, she said, and I'm sure this was about the mentoring. I have so many unofficial mentors through reading books, listening to podcasts, and reading their articles and white papers.
so here is, yes, there is a question. How do you handle it tactfully when you are speaking up but are not being heard?
That's a really good question. It can be hard, I think, for certain people. You know, some folks, you know, it's not, but it can be. And I think the tactful way is that I've tried to do is just to maybe repeat, you know, especially say it's like a family member or maybe a team where you're not being heard, is just, you know, let that person speak and then but reiterate the question again. And I think it is respectful but a little firmer way that you can, because you do need to be heard. So I hope that helps. And if not, let me know and I'm happy to talk more.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Marta. I think that was pretty good.
No, that was the only one. And it was just a comment.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Next spotlight, Tamika Great Frazier. Hi, Tamika.
Hey, hi everyone. Hello, hello.
So, of course, for your spotlight, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Tamika Great Frazier, and I'm a native of the Dallas, Texas area. I've been here all my life. I am currently a human resource professional with AT&T, and I've been with the company now for about 20 years. I am the mother of 3 adult children, and I have 1 grandson, and I've been married to my husband for 23 years. Through life and things that have happened, I have now become a newly published author. And so the title of my book is Life After, and it encompasses my testimony with a little spin of inspiration on the end so that it can give someone else hope after they go through something traumatic. So hopefully you guys will get a chance to get a good read in.
All right. Well, thank you, Tamika. So the last time we were together, you mentioned your journey to becoming an author. So why is it important and why is there power in telling your story?
Well, I think it's important, and I think power comes with the fact that your story is a healing source. It's more so, to me, an avenue of strength, but it also puts you in a place of selflessness where you can share with other people and recognize that you're not the only person that has gone through things. And so having to share my story on a number of occasions has given me, again, that strength to at least get in front of the audience that needs to hear it or may have gone through something similar, maybe not the same in nature, but definitely in kindredness, and just enough to know that we're not in this thing alone. So there's power that comes from just getting to a point of survivorship. I think that is the most relatable goal when you've gone through something such as myself. So once you meet that goal, it kind of helps you unleash your potential. It kind of drives you in directions that you probably wasn't ready for, but it gives you a sense of relevance and it helps you push your purpose. So I believe telling a story has always given me my strength. It's always been my therapy. And as time has progressed, I've even learned a lot more from myself. And so it's very powerful.
Well, thank you for that. And just because I know you,
Mm-hmm.
knowing your story, it happened so many years ago.
Sure.
And why did you feel now was the time to tell your story?
Well, I would say now was the time because it did happen so many years ago. I was pretty young, a little bit more novice in my approach and in my delivery. And I felt like if life was to happen a little bit more and I could really share the story with other experiences, I could allow maturity to put a spin on it. And so almost 25 years to the date, there has been so many other things that have happened. And it's just kind of given me, again, that level of comfort to share the story and also give a spin of what life looks like after, especially with inspiration behind it, because so many people go through things and they just can't get through those things without having some type of push. And so I waited. And right now, pandemic wise, would also play a role. Last year, I decided to go ahead and put it in manuscript, but 2019 brought about quite a few distractions. So 2020 shut the world down, and it was all pen to paper from here. So I'm not real excited about the chain of events over the year, but I will tell you that 2020 has afforded me the opportunity and the bandwidth to really focus on the book and kind of get the message out there, which is what I should have done some time ago.
Okay, thank you. And this is a three-part question, and you partially answered it, but I want to go a little bit deeper. So what steps did you take towards your bold move to writing your book?
Okay.
Was everyone supportive? So that kind of goes back to the last question that was just asked about, like, how do you know what to share with who? And then
Right.
describe some of the emotions you experienced going through this process, because you basically had to relive the incident.
Yeah, well, I will say some of the steps that I chose to take was to get a little bit more of an expertise in front of me. I'm just a messenger, and I've always looked at myself as a messenger. And so I did start to solicit other people who have become authors or would actually speak and tell those stories, and kind of hone in on some of the things that will work to try to help me elevate and get myself to a place where I would be more comfortable in sharing, as well as putting it in a book. And so that brought me to a firm here locally. I was actually perusing social media and ran across a firm with a young lady who was selling her book. She was promoting it, and the book was titled Entrepreneurship. And I thought, okay, I'm channeling, author field, trying to figure out how do I become a messenger / author and doing what I need to do. So I reached out, and she and I touched base, and I decided to use some of her services. And over the last maybe year or so, she and I have developed a good, strong rapport. And she was really a good liaison for me to kind of channel my energy in the right direction to put it in a book. Support wise, my story was pretty, it was world facing, if you will. So I've always been supported, but as it came to time for me to write the book, you kind of hear a little silence that kicks in, because everybody's like, what is she going to write about? And the book is not a characterization book. It's more of just my journey, my narrative, and how I felt, I overcame the trauma that I experienced, on top of what God did for me in order for me to share with other people. And so once the book was unveiled, then I saw a little different slate of support kick in, because everybody was excited about the inspirational side. And I guess they just didn't know what to expect. When you're writing a memoir, it kind of opens you up, and it kind of puts you in a place of uncertainty. And so I know my immediate family, and was a little nervous, but the support remained, and I'm thankful for that. Some of the emotions I think I may have felt were anxiety. Again, once you write a memoir, you really don't know what to expect, but you do know it's your story. And if it's important enough to put out there, then you kind of remove yourself, and you basically give it a 30,000-foot view and say, hey, this is not just for me, this is for people that are going through things. And I had to remove self. And once I did that, I became more intentional with my purpose. And I said, let me put this pen to paper, don't stop. And it has been really, really rewarding ever since. And so channeling from anxiety to intentionality, and to now feeling a little bit more liberated because the book is out and it's getting a great response. There's a lot of emotions, just a full gumbo of emotions, but I'm eating it up and enjoying it. And I think the purpose has really made its point.
All right. Well, thank you. And you can purchase her book at, and my apologies, www.tameka and that's TAMECKA Frazier.com. So do we have any questions for Tameka before we move on?
No, not in the chat. Checking one more time. No questions in the chat at this time.
All right. Well, last but not least.
Oh, there is one. Sorry.
Okay. It says
I was just
Tamika
giving.
from Rita. Hi, Rita. It says, how long did it take you to write the book?
Probably could have been done a lot sooner. Again, I mentioned 2019 kind of threw a few curveballs, but the lady that I worked with was phenomenal, and she could have turned the book around in about 90 days with my first draft being finished. So I would have said, for me overall, a year from start to finish, and from pen to cover, and so about a good year, and comfortably so. But probably a lot sooner had I not allowed so many distractions to get in the way.
Okay. And are you self-published?
I am.
Okay. All right. And where can we find your book other than your website?
Well, you can, again, on my website or on Amazon.
Okay.
The book is titled, again, Life After, and this is what it looks like if you pull it up.
Oh, look at y'all coming with y'all's material. Yay. All right. Well, thank you. But
Can I
last,
ask?
yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just had one more question for Tamika. Something that you just shared was that I just looked at your website and saw that you talked a little bit about what happened to you. And I think that just takes a lot of vulnerability, especially within corporate America. I'm kind of curious. You mentioned anxiety around having your story out there. What helped you push past that? Because it is vulnerable, and you knew that, you know, both your professional network and your personal network and others that you don't know are going to see this. I'm kind of curious. How did you push past that?
Well, when my story has always been bigger than me, and I had to always remind myself of that. It's not just about Tamika, and so my prayer has always been to remove myself so that the purpose and the story could be shown, that others would get what they need from it. And so each time that I would kind of find myself in that place, I would just shake it off and again, give it a 30,000-foot view and recognize how many people that it would eventually bless or touch, and how many people could grow from going through something, whether it be something as traumatic as my experience, or a loss of love, or anything, just anything that they need to bounce back from. So I kept reminding myself, it's not all about Tamika. I survived this for a reason, and it's for the masses, and it's just not for me.
Thank you, Tamika. Cindy said, I love that you work towards the higher purpose to make sure that happen rather than worry about the unknown.
Right. Thank you.
All right.
There's one last question if there is time.
Okay. Yes.
What was the lesson you personally learned about yourself after it was written?
Well, one lesson is that anything's achievable. I was in a place of, goal setting, and becoming an author was never one of them. But once I did, it was one of the most liberating accomplishments I think I've ever been exposed to. And it actually gave me that push to go ahead and say, hey, now this is all about purpose. It's not about I just removed self. And so I'm just thankful that I was able to look past, things that would have slowed me down and allowed me to meet goals otherwise. So just a goal set that I just never thought I would meet, but very thankful that I did.
All right. Thank you, Tamika.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tamika?
No, we're good.
All right. So as I mentioned, last but not least, we have Molly. And Molly, of course, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Molly Pompadit, and I was a child refugee of war from Laos, now an entrepreneur here right outside of the Washington, D.C. area. I have also written multiple books. Let me be prepared. Like Dr. Monk said, here's my memoir, A Million Fireflies. And that was a powerful journey as well, Tamika. I can really understand, to relive trauma and to put it down on paper is not an easy thing. And I'm a TEDx speaker, and in terms of my work as a business owner, I run a company called the SOAR Community Network. And what we do is we build C3 communities within organizations versus helping organizations build workforces. Communities filled with compassion, cohesion, and effective collaboration. so that they can accomplish their mission for social good.
Okay. Well, thank you, Molly, for that brief introduction. And the last time we met, you mentioned you had to take care of your family at an early age. How has that shaped your belief system when it comes to setting the appropriate boundaries personally and professionally?
No, I feel like all of us have responsibilities, and oftentimes they can become a crutch for us. It's like my family needs this, my parents need this, and it holds us back from really moving forward in developing our own identity, as well as accomplishing or designing what our true vision and mission is for our own lives. And what I've learned is when I take care of me, and I don't mean being self-centered, I mean centering self. So becoming self-centered. When you can become self-centered and you understand that your value, your gifts, and your talents can really come forth when you are at your best, when your cup is full and runneth over, when you have your basic needs met and you're not worried and fearful, that's when you can really take care of your family. That's when you can really take care of your community. And that's when you can truly contribute to society. So I encourage all of us on this call is to become more self-centered. Learn those modalities, take care of you, meditate, pray, journal, whatever it is that allows you to always come back to center on a daily basis, understanding that you're worth it, and that when you truly understand that you're worth it, there's so much powerful work that you get to do in this lifetime that's going to change and shift so many lives, starting with yourself, your family, and then society at large.
Thank you. Thank you. So before you actually became an entrepreneur, you worked in financial services. Can you share why you decided to leave financial services?
I think that question has to start with why I entered financial services. I entered financial services because when I was 27 years old, I lost my fiance at the time to a drowning accident. And it really shifted the way that I looked at life, and I looked at time, and I looked at my purpose. And what I didn't know then at 27, young, in love, invincible, was to take care of me, to take care of my finances, to learn what I needed to learn to make sure that I was stable. And so I went into financial services because it taught me to think about, if I didn't wait to be engaged, to be married, would I have gone through the financial woes after his passing? And I share that story because up to that point, and then launching my practice, every decision I made, I had uncovered this over time, every decision I made was based on fear or some type of trauma. From when I was born into war to the time that I had experienced this. And when I decided to leave financial services, it wasn't my cognitive, it was my soul that was really signaling to me that it's time to choose a life of abundance. Every decision, including going into financial services, was based on fear and trauma. And at 35, my body was telling me something's not right. I didn't remember, or I never knew what it felt like to make a decision based on divine trust, that everything was going to be okay. Every decision was about, safeguarding. And I just never made a decision about, well, what about legacy? What about doing good in the world and leading from a place of trusting? So that's what made me leave financial services. I was getting sick all the time. I had all this money, but I wasn't happy. And so I started to really take time and listen to my gut, listen to the answers to my prayers, really tap into that. And I heard this voice deep down within me. And I know, we have God within us, God all around us. And it just told me, think about the type of life you want to live. What decision can you make moving forward about your journey and your legacy that is really, honestly yours? What is your soul telling you to do? Not the physical fearful child that was still living within me.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I'm glad you're sharing that, because, I mean, we're talking about the feelings and the intuition. And part of that is getting to a place where you can be quiet and still to be able to feel the emotion. I think because as women, we're so busy and we are fearful of so many things, but I think we're also just as afraid to do what we've been called to do. And in saying that, you took a leap of faith to start your own business and follow your heart's desire. What do women today need to know about perfect timing, or is there such a thing?
I don't believe there's perfect timing. I do believe in synchronicity. I do believe in messages all around us, but more importantly, I believe in self-love. And self-love is when you know, when your body's telling you, and your mind is telling you, and your gut is telling you, enough is enough. And that's really what I would like all of the participants to think about. The perfect timing is when you are no longer happy.
Mm-hmm.
When you are no longer happy, when you are no longer feeling a sense of harmony or joy or bliss, something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to even know exactly what's wrong. When you know it's wrong, it's time to make a pivot. The question then becomes, what pivot do I need to make? And that's really when you have to sit down for that self-reflection time. That's when you have to choose those modalities. Think about journaling. Think about the thing that is going to allow you to write it, get it out on paper. If you need to process it through music making, do it that way. Writing poetry, do it that way. Talking it out to your closest girlfriends, do it that way. But you have to address it. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not happy, and I am choosing to be unhappy because I'm choosing not to make a change. And you get to that place, you just need to know that all you have to do is take a tiny step away from your routine, because it's not working anymore. Just take one tiny step away from your routine. Try something different.
And I think one of the things you said that's key too, even though I don't journal as much as I should, I have 50 million journals, but I can go back and look at my journals. And if I think about specific times or seasons, sometimes I'm going through the same things just because I haven't taken the time to address them. So I think it is just the practical things that you're saying, the journaling, the self-reflection, the talking it out to other people, because they can actually, see things that we don't see. And we do need to get over the fear and just be able to make the choices that we need to make. But again, all that goes back to our core values. Just because what you said, when I quit, I was unhappy for like 3 years, right? And it took me 5 years, and I can just imagine where I could have been in life had I just really went with what I felt on the inside and stopped letting things like money and status, drive my decisions, because those are emotional decisions. And we do want something that's long-term and sustainable and aligns with who we are. So thank you for that, Molly. So does anyone have any questions for Molly? She's just so peaceful. Love it. Any questions?
Don't see any right at this second, in case anyone is typing, but none at the moment.
All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. And Molly, she still has her trial for her Nebula community here, and you have this here. It's the Bit.ly SOAR Community UOP, and then you can also reach her at molly@soarcommunitynetwork.com. So we are near to, of course, it's me, Dr. Christi, and y'all know what I'm gonna do too. Here's my Bold Moves career planner. I'm super excited about what's coming up next. We're going to be doing the Bold Moves Masterclass, and yeah, I'm gonna come back to question and answers, but just to go ahead, if everyone can see here, we have the information to pre-register. And the Bold Moves Masterclass is called Get Ready to Rock Your Ice. But I think I may do the masterclass on negotiating your worth, because I think That's very important when we're talking about making bold moves, because everybody's bold move is not about them quitting their job. It's not about, you know, becoming an author, but we do have people on here who have actually charted that path and can definitely be resources for you. But then there are some of us just don't know the tools and strategies that are available to us so that we can effectively make the bold moves, but you have to do what's right for you. So we want to cordially invite you again to the masterclass in which I will be teaching, and I still will have my lovely panelists there to support me in that journey. So does anyone have any other questions? We still have we got 9 minutes. We still got some time.
There is a question. What does ICE stand for?
Great question. That's why I put it up there like that. It stands for influence plus confidence equals esteem. So all of those things are important to making your bold moves. You have to be confident, and through confidence, you're able to better influence, and it also strengthens your self-esteem, because one of the things Dr. Ryder talked about was the confidence and the worthiness. So this is what ICE stands for. Influence plus confidence equals esteem. Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay.
From Jeff Martin, I have heard that older persons looking for work are at a disadvantage over those in their 20s and 30s. Does anyone have any advice or perspective regarding this? And how can someone older best be competitive when looking for a job?
I've heard that older persons looking for work. So Jeff, before I even answer the question, what have you heard as far as older persons? Like, is it a particular type of field or just work in general? I'm just waiting for Jeff to respond.
I think he's in regards to just in general.
Well, so I don't necessarily think that that's true. I think everyone is on an equal playing field when it comes to a job search. I think most things heavily are contingent upon, first of all, your work experience and what's reflected on your resume. Let's see, more medical problems. Okay, what's reflected on your resume? One of the things that I think is a pitfall for most adults who have been working for years and years, we don't necessarily, we don't do a lot of interviewing because we're probably in our jobs, but if you have been without work, we have to make sure that what the jobs that we're applying for, our resume actually reflects that information. Most oftentimes, I think a pitfall for that is that we get other people to do our resumes, but we don't take the time to do the research to understand the types of jobs that are out there. We don't really hone in on the skills that we have that are transferable. I think the one things that people in their 20s and 30s, they're such go-getters right now. And so they use every skill that they have in order to secure the jobs that they want. I think, but the other disadvantage to that is, because I can remember when I was in my 20s, if things didn't align with what I wanted to do, I quit. So I think the most important part really is understanding what your transferable skills are and really working on your resume to reflect the jobs that you're going after. And then also understanding your value proposition. And I think that's what I talked about earlier, like knowing the things and accomplishments that you've made. And I know we may see that also as a challenge for people re-entering the workforce from the military or, working moms. So everything I think hinges upon your resume and it truly reflecting what the work that you do and your transferable skills in alignment with the job that you're applying for. And what that also means is you may have to do 5 or 6 resumes for each job that you're looking for. So I think that everyone has the same advantage. It's just about how you actually go about presenting yourself and packaging everything together for those job opportunities. I hope that helps in answering the question.
Yes, he said thank you.
You're welcome, Jeff. Any other questions?
No, I don't see any at this time.
Okay. All right. And so, and if you are interested in learning more about the University of Phoenix and the career development workshops, or just for some career advice, please contact michael.washington@phoenix.edu for more information. And again, we would love your feedback. So if you could just take a few moments to scan the QR code from your mobile device, we love to hear from you. And if there are any other types of workshops or talks that myself and my lovely panelists can assist you with, we would love to hear from you. But again, don't forget to register for our next event. Thank you for your time today, but I wanted to go back to the QR code just in case people didn't get it, so that they can register for part 3. So we can rock our ice and negotiate our salary. So thank you everyone for joining us. And as always from me, be confident. Y'all know I like to show my shirts. Be confident, be bold, be you. Thank you everyone. Somebody wants to eat the QR code. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay.
All right.
As everyone up, whenever we can leave.
Don't see anything. Oh.
Thank you. Okay. Well, to my lovely panelists, I want to thank you again for such an awesome event and sharing all of your